What's up, guys? It's your boy Preston, aka Red Ghost, and welcome to the Infinite Podcast. So Twisted and Duchess are both out for this episode. They have some family stuff that they are taking care of. So I have brought my good friend Nick, who is an avid gamer. He's a lover of League of Legends, a lover of PC everything, and one of my best friends. So yeah. So everyone, welcome Nick
What's
to
up?
the podcast. Yeah, what's up, man? Glad to have you on. Glad to have you on. So we have a lot of topics to talk about today. Right. I mean, everything from loot boxes in the U.S. government to the HCS grassroots event and happening in St. Louis, to BioWare's big week and more. And also, we're gonna touch a little bit on Far Cry. Touch a little bit on Far Cry as a trailer has been announced. Now, let's start off with loot boxes in the U.S. government. Now, the U.S. government is actively performing a federal investigation on loot boxes within gaming. So that means for games like League of Legends, Overwatch, any title that supports the loot box ideology. In that way, the U.S. government is going to be investigating it. So I find it good for gaming that finally, something has to happen, or something is happening in order for loot boxes to either just like chill or for them to fix it to just be more appropriate. I feel like that with loot boxes currently, you could put in a lot of money. You could put in from like $100 to $200, which for a normal person, right, that's working your 9 to 5, that's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money that's being put in, right? And you're not necessarily knowing what you're getting. I mean, you could get a lot of crap. You could get literally a lot of crap for no reason. And it's just kind of, I don't know. It feels like loot boxes, like it's a great idea. I feel like it just consistently proves me wrong. It's like, oh, it's not a great idea. Shut up. I don't know. It just seems that way. It
Offer
seems like just a
all
big inconsistency.
offer all of the items that you are offering in the loot box on the regular store.
And be able to purchase it. But
And be
don't
a
like,
and don't make the one item 5,000 RP. That's $50.
yeah.
Like that's what Riot does. They'll make that one item that you have like a 0.05 chance of getting. They'll make it like 3,300 RP. That's $33.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
too
yeah, that's
much.
absolutely insane. That's absolutely insane. The fact that you have to pay that much to get a specific skin that you want from a loot box is ridiculous. Now I get it, right? Because there's like this rarity tier list that every game has. And obviously, people that play that certain title, it's important to them. I mean, look at League of Legends and Champion skins. I honestly, right? Like if we're looking at that, but I feel though at the end of the day, that this definitely needs to change. I'm
Yes.
glad I'm glad that there's finally efforts, right, that are changing this. But what kind of concerns me is that the federal
It
government
takes it too
is the
far.
one that's leading this charge. They always take it too
Always.
far and they always try to paint this image. They always try to paint this image that gaming is bad and gaming is here to hurt your kids and it's here to steal from you. And it's not. Like
At
that's
all.
not the truth at all. And I feel like gaming is really early. I mean, if you think about it, gaming didn't get huge until the 90s. Gaming was not solidified as something you did on a daily basis until the 90s. So we're only looking at roughly what 30 years
Yeah.
almost 30 years where gaming has been like a popularized
Yeah.
thing. Um, and for a lot of people, I just don't think they understand that. And a lot of people also don't understand or grasp the idea that hey, human beings are doing this and human beings have error too. So again, like obviously I'm not saying the loot box thing is an error, but what I'm simply saying is that at the end of the day, you have to give the benefit of the doubt. You have to realize, that maybe the loot boxes were put in there for a different purpose, right? Maybe it wasn't as slimy and schemy as we all thought it was. Um, and I really think you have to kind of bring that ideology to you because it's hard. It's a difficult thing to do, especially when you feel like you're being stolen from in that right. Um, so it's really interesting for sure. But any like final comments or thoughts on that, Nick?
Has there been any regurgitation from the government saying about taxing, like how they're like going to process that whole elimination of loot boxes, or what are they
They
doing
haven't
to involve
Sure,
themselves?
sure. So they haven't actually said anything publicly yet, except that they're doing the investigation. So
Okay,
that's all we know currently is that the investigation is happening, and no one knows truly like the details of it. I mean, obviously, if you're one of those companies that's being contacted by the U.S. government,
sure.
you know a lot about it. But
Consumers
unfortunately, right, that information, right, but the information isn't out to the public. So I feel like we're gonna see something here within the next few months, and I'm really curious to see what this is all gonna lead to, and how the gaming industry as a whole changes, because this was a big part of what companies used for, like for gaining profit for their title, and it was also ways of companies creating a game that was quote unquote free to play. Um, it's free to play, but if you want anything else, you got to buy it, and that's fine. And when you sign up for a game like that, you're kind of signing up for that. But at the same time, it's like if you're a company that's doing that, you should just take better routes. It just I don't know. Like I truly feel that there are just better routes there. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, but it just I don't know. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But but yeah, I don't know. Just it feels like free to play is always just such a loose term, you know?
It really is. Like, I free to play is not free to play. I mean, sure, it is. It is. And like, I don't know. I don't want to keep bringing up League, but League does it. League does it in a way where it's almost fair, but then you have games like Overwatch and Fortnite that just destroyed the loot box community as a whole.
Yeah, no, 100%, right? Well, with Fortnite, you're getting more like individual things and you aren't necessarily loot boxes. But even then, I honestly think just, to
Yeah,
add on to the topic before we move forward, right? There needs to be a legitimate based discussion on virtual currency inside of video games and how that represents the dollar. And and I feel like there isn't a good method, and I feel like that there's just like this over over bountiful look at the idea, or at the idea of like a riot point, right? Like at the like 100, or excuse me, 1,000 riot points is $1, right? Or is it
uh,
$10?
1,000 points would be $10.
Okay, so 1,000 is $10 and then 100 is $1.
Yes.
um
So ideally, a penny is one right point.
yeah, so a penny is one riot point. um which is cool, but it's still at the end of the day, I mean, it, just because it says that maybe like 1,000 riot points is $10, right? But you go and purchase a skin, you just spent $10 on that skin.
Hmm.
That skin's not worth $10. That skin's probably worth 5. And even then, like, sure, you had a designer create that model and put it out in the game. But if you think about it, if your game is good and your fan base is there and you have people that care for what you're creating and what you're producing and what you're pushing, you shouldn't have an issue with selling skins. I mean, honestly, like if you put a skin anywhere between $5 to $10, I think that's reasonable.
It
But at
is.
the same time, at the same time, Riot has no right to put out a skin and charge 30 damn dollars for it. I don't understand why companies do that. I mean, sure, if that's the only way you think you can succeed, I just maybe you shouldn't be in gaming. Um, and that's kind of how I feel about it, really. Honestly, that's just like my true opinion. Like obviously you got to have a corporate America. Okay, corporate America is always going to exist, and I may not be the biggest fan of it, but the whole thing is more or less it's for the games, right? It's for the
It,
gamer.
but
So
it
yeah.
it is like skins, like skins in Call of Duty, for example. Say you get a legendary skin for your, I don't know, AWP.
Okay.
Wait, that's CS:GO. Wait, no,
Dude,
I
I
don't
told you, my man is a PC god. He doesn't play console, so
know.
don't. Don't flame him too hard. I'll give you a gun. The ICR. I'll
Okay.
give you the gun. I'll
So
give you
you
a
get a
gun.
legendary skin for the ICR,
Okay.
or like you get a legendary skin in League. That gives you a brand new outlook to that gun slash skin.
Yep.
That's why the skin industry is so big.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it's cool because like when I get a new champion for a skin, or when I get a new skin for a champion, I love it. Like that's my new main. But then I don't know. It's just I love the concept of skins, but I wish it would change.
Yeah, man. I agree. I love skins. I love the concept too. I think it's really cool that you have community members and you have artists that can recreate these characters right with their own vision. And I really think it's beautiful for gaming. I think it's beautiful for art as a whole. And I think it's really interesting. But anyway, as far as that goes, right? We're gonna move on from loot boxes
Yes.
and the U.S. government. But but moving forward from that, right. Let's talk about some DLC. I feel like it's only right to go from loot boxes to DLC. Uh, in that right. So Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, Nintendo has announced, and wait for it, the the name of their DLC pass is the Smash Pass. Obviously Nintendo, everyone knows is dirty. don't don't
Smash.
act like it isn't. Uh, so for in the Smash Pass, you get 5 characters, 5 bonus stages, and 5 music tracks, all for $24.99. Or you could buy it individually. A $5.99 will get you 1 character, 1 bonus stage, and 1 music track for that stage. Um, Now the DLC pass is actually going to be, for what my understanding is that they are looking at the polls that were held of popular characters and listening to the community about popular characters they want to put in possibly the last Super Smash Brothers title that we're going to see for probably 5 to 6 years. Um which really it really kind of bugs me too that they're only doing 5 characters, 5 stages, and 5 music tracks. Like I get it that's a lot of content that the company is producing, but at the same time, your game is not going to be around like it's not going to be like brand new in a couple of years, right? It's going to be looked at as a title that's out, that's all that we have. But that's not to say that Ultimate's going to be a bad a, a bad game like at all. Um, but as far as that's concerned, um, the one character that I personally know of that I want to be in this game, that needs to be in this game, is Banjo Kazooie. And if you want my opinion, I think Banjo Kazooie's like shadow character or like alternate skin should be Ukulele.
Yes. Hands down.
Ukulele. I think that should happen because I think that would be really cool, right? To take the gap of what I mean. I honestly, if you don't know what Banjo Kazooie is, right? For the people listening, and if you've never played this title, this was one of the titles that absolutely transformed platform gaming, action adventure gaming. It kind of set the par, or excuse me, set the bar high for all these companies, right? To do this and be up to par. There we go. That's where the word's placed. To be up to par, right, with what they're creating. But all in all, I want to see
Nah.
Banjo Kazooie.
Bring in Conquer. Bring in
Oh,
Conquer, bro.
Conquer would be sick. I would love to see Conquer. I think Conquer, Banjo Kazooie, they definitely have a place in a Smash Brothers
And
game.
definitely Ice Climbers, like both of them.
Well, Ice Climbers is in there, so they did announce Ice Climbers. So Ice Climbers are going to be in there. But how? But who?
But
Who
they
else? But who else? Because like I feel like the roster is huge. It's like who else do you add?
maybe some Yokai Watch characters.
I don't know, right? Or maybe that would be interesting actually.
Or Crystal from Star Fox.
That would be dope.
That would be really cool.
Yo, I wasn't even thinking about Crystal, honestly. In all honesty, I wasn't thinking about that
And
at all.
then and dude, like hands down, if they could bring in Shovel Knight, I would buy a Switch.
So check this out. Shovel Knight and Ukulele are currently already characters in a game called Brawlout. It's it's on the Xbox, it's on the Nintendo Switch, I believe it's also on the PlayStation and PC. But definitely recommend checking that title out. It's very similar to Smash in that light.
Uh-huh.
However, it takes like indie characters and characters from like other franchises and maybe things that weren't
Ooh.
that popular or they were kind of like underground
What a-
popular, right? Or cult fan base rather.
what about like we need to shine some light on Sonic. How about I
Put in
think
Shadow.
put in Tails.
Put in Knuckles, bro. Where's
Tails.
Knuckles? Tails,
Tails.
Tails, Tails or Knuckles? Because obviously, like Knuckles is kind of like the punching,
Yeah, that is
like.
yeah.
But I think Tails would be dope though. Like I think
Or
Tails would have like really interesting mix-ups there that
mhm.
would really like broaden Ultimate's gameplay.
Or just play on the Switch. Fucking Champions of Hyrule. Just put in the Champions of Hyrule
Could. There's a lot
from
they could
from
there's a
Breath of
lot they could yeah, I mean, there's a lot they could do, right? And I do think that they're gonna pull something for Breath of the Wild. And speaking of Breath of the Wild, I wanted to touch on this briefly while we're on the topic of Nintendo and Smash. But just real briefly, and we'll talk about more of this on the next episode of the podcast. So please don't worry, we're definitely gonna touch on this. But Nintendo is thinking about releasing a Legend of Zelda game every year. They're
that.
thinking about doing a yearly release of Legend of Zelda games, which I'm not a big fan for, but maybe that's why, why the idea that Champions of Hyrule could be in
But
Ultimate.
but Zelda is such a I mean, Zelda isn't going to be like, Call of Duty. Like, it's not going to be just a rebranding, like, create some new maps. There are so many ideas that they could branch off of Zelda that they could make a new game every year. Because Zelda is such an expansive topic and an expansive game. It would not be, I don't think it would be that hard to make a good Zelda game every year.
Honestly, if you want my personal opinion, all right, here's my personal opinion. There's a thing that I learned, right, as a younger adult. It's called patience. And I feel like that the game industry as a whole does not have
Mm.
patience. And I feel that's why Nintendo is going, well, guys, shit. We should make a Zelda game every year. And they're like, "Oh, what, like Call of Duty? Yeah, dude, let's do it. They made tons of money. Fuck yeah, let's make tons of money." I mean, like, it's not a hard conversation, right? To have it, and there's a huge fan base for Legend of Zelda. But again, I'm curious to see, and we're definitely gonna talk about more of it on the next episode of the podcast. Um, However, let's get back to Smash. So I can see Champions of Hyrule, right? Banjo Kazooie and Ukulele. I think that'd be dope. I know that Ukulele is already in another title, but Microsoft, make it work. You already opted in that Nintendo could use Banjo Kazooie publicly. All right, Phil Spencer, I'm looking at you, man. I'm looking at you to make my dreams come true. Okay. I swear. But let's move into another topic real quick. Like, not to leave Ultimate completely and and just poof, it's gone. But just another title that also came out with some DLC, another fighting game title. Let's talk about Tekken 7. Now, Tekken 7,
Is
I mean,
exciting.
oh my god,
Exciting.
oh my god,
Very
dude.
exciting.
The fact, okay, if people don't know, Negan, right? Negan from The Walking Dead has been announced to be a character in the game. And honestly, I just have to
Barbed
give
wire,
props.
barbed wire baseball bat and everything. His
e-
cinematic is
Everything.
incredible.
Dude, you want to know what I love? Absolutely love about that is that the company the company that is behind creating Tekken, that team took so much detail into creating his cinematic. If you look at it, right, if you watch like the trailer, it's showing his cinematic. He lines them up all outside of his RV, just like in the beginning of I can't remember the season. I can't remember which season it is. People are gonna kill me for this, but I believe it's 5. It could be. I believe it's 5. Could be 6. I could be completely wrong. I'm not the biggest Walking Dead fan. I've watched it, but it kind of fell off for me. But we won't go there. However, I'm really excited for Negan. I'm really excited for Marduk. They're bringing back Armored King.
Oh,
They're bringing back Anna. They're bringing back Anna, dude. I'm really excited for that, and obviously Negan. They have there as well. So 5 characters are going to be releasing in their new pass. Um, I believe it's 19.99 for the pass. I could be wrong, but I believe it is 19.99. So if you're a Tekken fan and you love the fact that Walking Dead characters are in your game, if you like the new additions, the new DLCs, go and pick that up. And for those waiting on Ultimate, get the 24.99 saved up. Go ahead and get the Smash Pass and have it ready. Have it ready to go when they release all these characters. Great content that's going to be happening. And it's honestly a great time for the fighting game community. It's a great time for them. And yeah, it's exciting. It's good stuff.
It is very exciting to be in the fighting. It is a very exciting time to be in the fighting genre. I'm very enthralled by Tekken 7 and the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC. It getting a new console is getting very hard because I just don't know which one to pick.
Honestly, right? I
There's
just said
too many.
screw it and bought them all.
Just screw it and bottom all.
The only thing I don't have is a Switch, but hopefully I can change that. But I swear that feels like that's the only option.
Screw it, bottom
Buy them all, buy everything, buy the world. Um, but so let's move forward, right, from the fighting game community, and fighting games as a whole. Now, this week in particular, BioWare had a huge week. Huge week. The spotlight was on BioWare, 100%. There now the Game Awards were last night. The Game Awards were last night. I did not get the opportunity to watch the Game Awards. I mean, obviously, besides like the trailers here and there, and the Far Cry trailer that popped up. So I didn't see anything about Dragon Age 4, but it was rumored to have been shown off there. So I'm not sure if that
Well,
actually happened.
from what they said this week,
Yeah.
Dragon Age 4 or whatever name it will carry, it's at least 3 years away.
So we're out. So we got 3 years.
We definitely
For
we definitely got some time. The new Dragon Age is exciting, but the timeline we're given, it's more of a EA limbo than anything.
Yeah, I think it is too, right? I think it's like because if you look at BioWare, and this is no offense, I really think BioWare is a great company. They produce games that I love to death.
Phenomenal game.
Star Wars: The Knights of the Old Republic on the
Oh,
original Xbox, the first two were honestly some of the best video games ever made in history.
ever
If you've
created.
never played them, please go and play them. You can go buy Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic for I believe it's either $4.99 or $9.99 on the Xbox store. You can also pick it up on Steam. I recommend playing the game. It's absolutely phenomenal. But when we go into BioWare, we're talking about BioWare. BioWare has kind of shit the bed in the past couple of years. Mass Effect Andromeda wasn't that great of a title as far as its acceptance, right? I thought it was a good Mass Effect. I thought they were taking, kind of like they were taking steps backwards in a way to redevelop a story that they had concluded, right? So they were kind of people wanted this like epicness and this all out sci-fi battle, but it wasn't that. It was very story based. It was very slow, and you didn't really start picking up on action until about 5 to 6 hours into the game, which was a big problem, especially for people who want to game that game all night. I'm sorry, but stories could be interesting and they can capture you for moments and times, but they're not going to capture you for 5 to 6 hours when you're trying to kill something in a sci-fi game. It's just not going to happen. But I truly think that Dragon Age 4, right? I'm glad that they're announcing this now. I hope that BioWare as a company and I hope EA, right? I hope that they come together and are like, okay, you guys need to listen to community feedback. You guys need to, just keep your ear to the ground with your fans and make sure everything is, transparent from here on out. And that's what I think this Dragon Age 4 announcement really was, right? Because if the game is 3 years out, why announce it? Why not wait
There,
until E3?
it, well, I
You
mean,
know,
he
to
didn't
announce the title.
necessarily announce his words verbatim. Where if you've been following these blogs or myself and Mark Dar on Twitter, we're also working on some secret Dragon Age stuff.
Okay, so
Dragon Age is an incredibly important franchise in our studio, and we're excited to continue its legacy. Look for more on this in the coming month, though I won't tell you where to look.
so what that tells me, right? That tells me two things. As what's the term I'm looking for here? As I'll say empty for a lack of better words. As empty as that statement was, um, as far as right, like him giving away information. Obviously, he's tied down to a clause. He's with EA. They got to buckle down, man. Um, but I honestly, right. So if Dragon Age 4 isn't the game they're talking about, right, and if that's not the game that's coming out, I'm gonna be a little disappointed, and I know a lot of other fans are as well. But this is something interesting, Nick, that I want to throw your way. I want to get your opinion on it. But what if they came out with Dragon Age 4 and they bundled the game with a remastered version of Dragon Age 1 and Dragon Age 2?
Ah,
What now the reason why I say that, right? Just to give you a little backstory here, so a little bit on it. The reason why I say that is because Dragon Age as a franchise seems to kind of be like sinking almost like with their fans, right? There's a lot of this, it has a cult following. It has a cult fan base. But I truly think Dragon Age has the ability to really reach out there and become one of those titles that is like a must play. Um, but a lot of people don't pick up Dragon Age or pick up a later iteration of a title because they haven't played the first one or the second one, right? That's a lot of excuse that you hear nowadays in gaming. And we've seen a lot of companies kind of like rebuttal with making remasters of these titles for people to play, right? Look at Master Chief Collection, for example. But I think if they did that, I think that could possibly grab people. But what do you think?
it. I don't necessarily like the idea of just slapping some new graphics on an old game and calling it new and charging people $60 for it. If it is as part of a bundle and it does not upcharge the price, it is very exciting. But if they use that to make the bundle $150, it will definitely not be something I'm investing in.
Oh, I agree there, right? If they create, because like here's my thing, right? If you created a game, okay, and you remaster that title, you're remastering that title for two reasons. You're remastering that title so that, well, one, um, you're announcing it to either rebuild the hype, right? To get people to pay attention to your series again, or or you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, we can remaster these titles, but let's try to get as much money as we can out of it. And
Yeah,
it kind of feels what like a lot of these companies do. I think Master Chief Collection, they did it right. You
they
know,
did it right. They
I
did
will
it
say
right.
343. I will say 343 Industries did it right. Right, they created a title that had every Halo title, sold it for $60. But you have 5 Halo titles in one game.
That's a lot.
That's a
That's a
lot of
lot.
game. That's a lot. And that's worth $60,
Yes.
right? At the end of the day, that is worth $60. But when you're looking at something like a brand new Dragon Age, for example, right, or a remastered, you cannot charge $40 for a
Mm-mm.
remastered version of a game. I don't think you should be able to do that. I don't think that honestly, if you want my opinion, if you remaster a game, and if it's only one game, you charge $30. You know, the $30 for it. If someone wants to buy it, you know, and not buy the newer title, but you should include those remastered titles in your new game to kind of force the hand of people going, okay, hey, well, I have the new Dragon Age, so I played these two. I never played the third, but the game told me I don't really necessarily need to play it to understand this one, so I'm good. I'm gonna play it, right? So that kind of like bridges the gap in a way for Dragon Age. But I want to move on to more EA stuff, right? And more BioWare stuff. I don't want to be stuck on Dragon Age the whole time. But Anthem Alpha. Now, the Anthem Alpha is going to be, now it's a closed alpha, and it's going to be opening up December 8th, and it will end December 9th. Now, on both of those days, they're opening up a 2-hour play session for the game. Now, just my opinion before we go into this, I think that Anthem is a title that's being overshadowed. I think a lot of what BioWare and EA is doing is being overshadowed. I mean, if you look at the games that recently came out, whether people like it or not, right? Fallout 76 came out. I truly enjoy the game, and I have some stuff I have to say about it, but we'll get back. We'll get to that in the next podcast. But as far as Fallout's concerned, right? You have Fallout, you have Red Dead 2, you have Spyro the Reignited Trilogy, you got Kingdom Hearts coming out in January. You got Smash coming out tomorrow, actually. So this is a time where if your game isn't at like a pedestal, you're gonna get overshadowed. No one's looking, no one cares. However, I feel that this could be a good decision on EA and BioWare's part, right? To do an alpha to kind of get content out there for the game and get people hyped about it because there hasn't been anything about the game. I mean, there's been some things here and there, a trailer here and there, show some gameplay at this event, but nothing crazy, nothing substantial that makes people go, "I want to buy that game." It seems, I'll put it this way: people do not deserve another Destiny, and you can love the Destiny all you want, and that's fine. I personally don't like it at all. I think it's a horrible title, and I think it, it's a title that lied to a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that are going to be mad about me saying that, and that's fine. Everyone has a right to their opinion. If you love the game, please don't stop loving it because of me. Like, please don't. I love Halo, and people hate Halo, so it is what it is. But I don't want to see another
It's
Destiny. I don't
not
want to
though.
see something that literally is
Anthem.
stealing
I'm
people's money.
excited for
It
Anthem, bro.
seems like it.
I'm
It seems
excited.
like it.
But
Honestly,
but
I could care
but
less.
that excitement did hit a peak in the middle of this conversation. While you were talking, I went to Anthem's website. You have to pre-order the digital deluxe edition to get access into the demo. You cannot purchase the standard edition and get access. You have to purchase the digital deluxe edition.
Which
Classic
is
EA move.
which is like $70, right?
80.
Oh, it's $80?
Classic E classic
$80?
classic EA move.
What? Dude, okay,
Just to play a beta. Just
dude, an alpha, mind you, right? And a beta,
well,
right?
it's VIP access for the alpha. Like you get in, a couple
Okay.
of hours early and stuff, but still, that's
That's a lot of money, man.
uh, uh,
That's a,
uh,
that, that's a lot of money for a
give us
title that
money,
you're
give
not
us
gonna
money,
see.
please. That's all it is.
I mean, you're not gonna see this title for another what? Like I heard it was
February
supposed to be
22nd, 2019.
2019. So we got a few months before this game comes out, and you're
Mm-hmm.
releasing an alpha, and then back to back are releasing a beta. You're rushing this game.
Nah,
They
nah.
are they are rushing this game,
If
dude.
you're in alpha stages and you're 3 months before release,
Yeah,
you got
they're
a problem.
rushing. They're rushing the
You've
game,
got a
dude.
problem. Yeah, no.
100%.
I'm backing down my excitement. This is another
Yeah.
Destiny.
Yeah, it's another Destiny, and that's what I don't want to happen. People don't deserve that shit.
We don't
They don't.
deserve another Destiny.
No, man. I'll put it this way, right? Like, because I thought, and I just want to give my opinions on this, right? And just real brief of why I do not like Destiny, right? I have a true reason. They advertise the game as as like a sci-fi MMO that's a first-person shooter, and you can travel all across the galaxy. You can do this, you can do that. There's so much shit that you could do, and I was thoroughly excited about the game. I wasn't that big about the abilities, and you could do this, that, and the other. I'm a person that prefers skill over gimmicks in a video game, but that's just me. Um, but again, right? They had some cool aspects. They had some cool things there that really had me excited. As a Halo fan and a Bungie fan, prior to them releasing the first Destiny, I was excited for it. And then the game came out, and then I played the beta, I played the beta, and then the game came out, and nothing changed from the beta to the game, and they added in DLC and other things like that throughout the first Destiny. That, in my opinion, the only DLC that made that game better was Rise of the Iron Fist, I believe was the name of the DLC. I believe it was. Please don't quote me on it. However, that was the only DLC that fixed that title in even the slightest bit. And then you move on to Destiny 2, which is literally the biggest piece of shit in gaming history. And they're making you spend $60 on the brand new title. The brand new title in 4 months drops to $20. I worked at Walmart at the time of this, so that's how I know this is true. And you can make fun of me working at Walmart. It's all good. I got to get the paper stack somehow. Now, as far as that's concerned, right, I saw that price drop. And then a couple months later, they come out with Destiny 2 Forsaken. But if you bought the season pass, you don't get Destiny 2 Forsaken. You got to spend $40 on this, and then you got to spend $40 on this pass. So you have to spend $80 plus the $60 to even get in the door, to even have the content that you want to play, which is bullshit. Which is fucking bullshit. And I don't really cuss that much on this podcast. I try not to. I try to keep it to. However, that is just it it's mind-boggling, right? It really feels like it's theft happening in gaming, and I'm not cool with it. I don't care how cool of a universe you create, but EA and Activision have both been companies that everyone has complained about. And honestly, I think it's time that as a gaming community as a whole, we don't sit there and allow for this to happen, right? I feel like there needs to be a lot more steps that need to be taken place. We as a community, as a gaming unit, we need to come together and let these companies know that we're not going to sell for this crap anymore. Stop buying, this stuff. Like, even though you like that game and you want to play it, there has to be somewhere something. There has to be a break in the line. Um, I just, I don't know, man. I just don't want to see that happening with Anthem, right? And I don't want people to get into Anthem and really love it, and then them basically being stole from. I just or stolen from. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not.
Eh, I'm just not, I'm not a fan of another Destiny.
I swear. But anyway, let's move forward for this, man. Uh, but as far as Anthem goes, if you're excited for it, you guys got an alpha coming, you guys have a beta coming, and you have the full title coming. What was it, February 22nd of 2019?
Hmm.
All right, so you're gonna be able to pick up Anthem February 22nd next year. If you're excited for the game, please pick it up. But also, guys, don't let us like our talk or how we or our opinions. Please don't let it necessarily reflect you purchasing that title. I can say whatever I want, and that's fine, right? We all have that right to. But I truly feel right that the people that love these titles and that that have grown community, have grown friendships, I feel like that they are literally being like kind of like attacked and grouped up on by these companies just to get as much money as possible, and it's very slimy. There are better ways to do it. There's just better ways to do it. That appeals to your community, the people that you're reaching with your title. But also in the BioWare week, right? We have some Mass Effect news. Nothing crazy, but we have a little bit of Mass Effect
Yeah,
news, right, man?
just I mean, a very slight announcement, but it is definitely something like they're trying. Trying to show that they're trying.
Yeah, it's like a 4K update, right?
A 4K enhancement for the Xbox One X for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Okay. And there
So
wasn't anything else, right? For Mass Effect, they didn't say anything else. I believe it was
nothing,
just the 4K.
just the
Yeah.
4K
I,
enhancement.
I mean, but why?
It,
Why? I
a
mean, you
big
know
who
what?
cares?
Yeah, I kind of feel that too, right? I feel like if you're gonna do that, man, like, what's the point, right? Unless you're a fan of the title, unless you're someone who has this whole 4K setup and you're playing the game, you're like, damn, dude, I want to play this in 4K. I bet you would look badass. I can understand that. I really can. I can understand from that perspective. And it doesn't take a lot for them to do it. So that's fine. And but that's definitely like an EA move too, right? Um, let's give them a little bit of something, but then we're gonna come out with something later and we're gonna charge you a shit ton of money for it. But we'll see. I'm honestly, I know that they announced they're not doing anything, too much with Mass Effect anymore. However, like I'm kind of disappointed by that because, like I said, I didn't think Andromeda was that bad. I thought that them taking those steps backwards, right, and kind of starting giving you that slow start, kind of gives you that Mass Effect One nostalgia in a way. Um, like the
Yeah,
story building and finding out these characters, but at the same time, right, you want to get out there, you want to kill shit.
give
You
me
you bought the
some.
game for action,
Give me some classic Mass Effect 2 multiplayer. Like, give me a squad of people and let me go stomp everyone.
right? Something,
That's
right?
give me that back. Give me Halo 3 ODST Firefight back. Give me something like some grindy PvP action or not PvE action.
Yeah,
Grindy
man.
PvE action can be fun. Like
No, it
in
definitely
Mass
can.
Effect, they definitely prove that. Bring
No,
it back.
yeah. No, it definitely can, man. I think PvE is something that's really that could be really fun as long as it's done in the right way.
Right, and they
Um, and
definitely did it
they
right in the
they
old
definitely
Mass
did it right.
Effect
Oh no, I agree.
multiplayer.
Yeah,
The
no, I
old
agree.
multiplayer was amazing.
No, it was really good. And I think if they get like right, just to touch on Mass Effect just a little bit more. Um, If I feel like that they need to really take a long look at Mass Effect, and they need to listen to the community that buys their game every time they release a new one. those are the people that are going to, when they buy your game, they're going to tell people whether it's good or not. And a lot of those people that may be fans of the game, they're going to be real with that person and that potential customer, and they're going to say, how they feel about the game. And it, like, even for me, right? Like when Halo 5 came out, everyone asked me how I felt about the new Halo game. And the reason why everyone asked me, because everyone knows that I play Halo like crazy. And but I'll be honest, I'll tell you if it's a good game or not. Um, and honestly, I didn't think Halo 5 was that great of a title. I felt like there was a lot of missteps there
Yeah,
within that. However, we have moved past that
top
that yeah,
discussion.
that gap of time. Yeah, that gap of time. Thank God. And we're moving on to other things. But we're gonna touch on Halo here in a second. But before we get into Halo, before we get into the St. Louis topic, we start talking about all the great things that are happening with Halo. I just want you guys to take a moment and listen to how Anchor, as a podcast platform, and what it can do for you. Anchor is an amazing platform, but I have a lot to say about it. Hi, my name is Preston, better known as Red Ghost. I'm the creator and the host of the Infinite podcast. Anchor allows us to talk about the gaming culture, esports, and more. Give yourself the only anchor you need in your life. Drop the guy with 0 kills and no thumbs. And always remember, Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your own podcast. Start your podcast with Anchor now. Don't fall behind. We got a game to win. Sign up now. Go to anchor.fm/start now. And the best part, it's completely free to start. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday for the Infinite podcast. Place Anchor now. Amazing place. But let's go into the topic that I'm personally excited about, right? I'm a huge Halo fan, as I've probably said it about 10 times in this recent episode and probably 40 other times in the past too, but that's okay. The more you know, even if it's regurgitated, I guess. But however, the HCS grassroots program, we covered it in our last episode. They are helping the company or the tournament organizer, UGC, host an event in St. Louis. Now, what they're helping them with is simply the prize pool. I believe they gave them, I believe it was $10,000 or $15,000 to put towards the prize pool for this tournament, and also announced, I believe it was announced today, UGC St. Louis, or for that particular event, they're hosting apparel on their website. If you go and purchase this apparel, a portion of a portion of the apparel that is bought, of the amount will go to the prize pool. So there's a huge potential for us to go from a $35,000 prize pool to anywhere in like the 40,000 range. So that's really nice that we're looking into that, right? And that UGC is listening to the community. And they've always been a company to really listen. They've always been a company to always keep their eyes out and kind of really look at what's happening and what people want. And um, they're just doing amazing things. They were the tournament organizer to help set the record for 128 teams since the inauguration of the HCS, or the Halo Championship Series. This is the biggest tournament to date since its inauguration. And also will feature side events, including MCC titles like Halo 1 and Halo 2, and obviously a crazy open bracket of 128 teams. But there's been some discussion amongst the community, amongst the competitive community, about the qualifiers and about things and about things moving. There has been a discussion for people to remove the qualifiers, which is a best of 3 single elimination format, and instead of having 4v4 online qualifiers, you go to the event and you start playing on Friday. It's an older style of Halo play, but it's something that really works for us. On Fridays, you play in a free for all. All members of your team play in a free for all, and your placing in free for all determines your seed in the open bracket of the tournament. So people are wanting to either go into that type of route, or they're looking to obviously there's a kind of like a time, obviously there's a time limit here, but there's also kind of like this distinguished difference, where you have people that want this FFA based format, and then you have people that say, no, I want I want this 4v4 format. So it's really interesting to see that. But as far as someone who maybe, who watched a little bit of old MLG Halo back in the day, Nick, uh, how do you feel about this event? I know I've taught you about it, but how do you feel about what
I'm
they're
definitely
doing as a company
excited
and what they're doing for
to
Halo?
see more progression in the Halo esports community, but I'm more excited for content. More excited for like I'm more of a seer than a believer. I want to see it first. I want to see these communities get engagement. I mean, I would love to see that prize pool just jump from 35 to 40,000, but that's not just going to happen. They need to broadcast it like that, the merchandise is going towards that. To my knowledge, that is definitely the first I've heard of that, but it's definitely a great concept and it could work.
It actually just got announced today, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it got announced or actually no,
Okay.
excuse me. It got announced last night. Sorry, apologies. Um, it got announced last night. About that, but no, I agree. Right. Just to your point, content is huge. Like it's great, right? They have the HCS grassroots backing, right? They have the tournament open bracket that people have been wanting since the inauguration of the HCS and Halo competitive Halo coming back into light and into true form. This is something that people have wanted for a long
Yes.
time. So I think that as long as they keep doing what they're doing, right, keep listening to the community, and they start putting out this amazing content, right, then I think that we're going to see kind of like the evolution of Halo. We're really going to see a push with us going, from Halo 5 back to Master Chief Collection to play Halo 3.
Yes.
That and
Yes.
believe it or not, that was actually voted on by the community, by anybody, not just the competitive community. If you are a member of the Halo community at any point in time, you actually have the opportunity to vote. And Halo 3 actually received, I believe it was
Of course.
53% of the vote. Over
Halo
Halo 2,
3,
over Halo 1, over Halo
I,
2
I
Anniversary.
can't talk about Halo 3. I
it's
can't.
it's
It
so good,
was
man. It's so
you
good. So
that
good.
pinnacle, absolutely the pinnacle of it created multiplayer gaming. Like
It
maybe not
created
created it,
competitive
but
it created console esports.
exactly. It is just
It literally
Bungie
was
will
the defining
never
factor, man.
Bungie deserves developer of the century just for Halo 3.
Honestly, I think they deserve
Not
developer
just
of the
Halo 2.
century. I think they deserve developer of the century for all 3 games.
Yes.
Halo 1, Halo 2, and Halo 3, not only were some of the greatest games, right, that you've ever played, but their stories were compelling, they were interesting, they kept you in. But not only that, their multiplayer for each one of the titles was absolutely it was so different from one another, but it was so
The
but
first
you
the
could tell they
first
were listening. You could tell they were
yeah,
listening. They were making changes based on what the hell people were saying, and that's what made 1, 2, and 3 so good, right? Even though they didn't talk about it a lot, they did some vid docs here and there, and they were more towards the casual side than they ever were the competitive because whether you know it or not, Bungie was not a fan of console esports, and they were not a fan of competitive Halo. They didn't think that competitive Halo truly deserved a place. It took MLG and the entire competitive community surrounding the title to literally get Bungie to put in an MLG playlist and to give us the game types that we were using to play with.
and MLG was a great playlist.
That was a great playlist.
The funnest thing on this planet was MLG Oddball. Oh my god.
Flag for me, man, or Pit King.
Dude, Oddball was so fun.
Oddball's dope too. Oddball's dope too, man. It's I feel like that title, right? It just had so many great things, but I don't want to move too much off the topic. But so kind of going back to it, right?
Oh
Let's
yeah.
touch on let's touch on content a little bit here. So with Halo content, right? I think if you embody the greatness of what Halo is, right? I think if you take and you create this interesting concept or interesting content, right, of this kind of like timeline from old MLG Halo to now. I think that'll be really cool. I know that there is someone that's actually working on a documentary, a Halo console esports documentary, that is kind of like it's supposed to set the pace really and really tell the history and the story, kind of like the Super Smash Brothers documentary did, for them. And so it's really cool that we have people that are doing this, right? They're creating this content outside of the competitive scene in a way to kind of bring people in. So now it's our job to start developing the competitive content, not just gameplays here and there. Talk to amateurs, right? Get amateurs talking to pros, have a conversation between them, right? Like, I think having that interesting dynamic there, and the fact that that's a dynamic, right, that every esport has. But with Halo, it's a little different. You see all these pros every time you go to an event. It's not like Counter-Strike or another title. Every single time you go to a Halo event, you see these pro players. You see these people that you watch on stream all the time. And you get to interact with them. I think if they did interesting stuff that had, that developed, right, like the tournament content that we see today, and then added in other things too, right? Like, you could put in a bouncy house in your venue and have two grown men race each other through it like they did at DreamHack Atlanta. I think that'd be absolutely hilarious to see. But you could put like a little small prize on it. That way they go hard, like hard in the paint, and they try to win it. I mean, I think doing stuff like that would really help to propel the HCS, and tournaments, right? Because mostly the only thing that people know about a Halo tournament is that the open bracket is crazy. It's hype. Everyone's yelling at each other. It's getting crazy. You're seeing sick plays. But other than watching or playing in some side tournaments, you don't really have like anything else, right? Besides like buying food or traveling to somewhere else away from the venue. So I think if that, right, if they were to kind of capture the that type of stuff, right, if they were to uh capture that type of content, then I really think that we could see a lot of things moving forward here with
Make
the HCS grassroots program, right, and with tournament organizers as a whole. And yeah, but I think just my last statement here, but I truly think that UGC and what they're doing can help set the standard
absolutely.
for Halo
They
tournament here on out.
adding, like you said, like making a gaming convention more of like a fun convention could draw a much more significant crowd. Like you could just do simple things like player invitationals at the tournament. You could do, I mean, there's so many simple things that they could add that would just add to the convention as a whole.
Do you want to know what would be dope? Just to touch on your point, just to add this. What if they, because Master Chief Collection, right? It has Halo 2. What if they did? Because I know they're planning on doing a Halo 3 feature event with the old school 2008 straight ripping roster and possibly the old Triggers Down roster. So they're going to be doing like a feature match, a feature series. I believe it's a best of 7, or best of 5 rather, that they're going to play. Um, but I really would like to see Halo 2 bring back old school Final Boss and have them play against old school Carbon. I think that would be amazing. I mean, the fact that you have Master Chief Collection, you have this amazing plethora of history that's with competitive Halo, and a lot of things that people that are in the Halo community now remember. I remember when I was 13 years old watching Halo 2, Xbox Live videos when you could purchase them from the Xbox store with Microsoft points. Um, yeah, so I mean, I remember that, and I remember that you could do that, and I remember watching those videos all the time. I bought every single episode for 2006 and 2007 season, and the 2008 season, and the 2009 season, and even the 2010 season. Like, I was competing during that time, but I still bought every single video that they ever came out with, because that right there to me was amazing. The fact that I could watch people do something that, as my younger self dreamed of doing, it was absolutely incredible. And whether people want to knock my accomplishments or not, I had high placings in a Halo game and I achieved playing at a very high level. So to me, I've kind of achieved my dream in that light. However, moving forward, right? Because it's not about me, it's about Halo. Um, I like I said, man, they have a lot of potential here. They have a lot of potential.
and
Um,
and
just what they do with it.
there's also potential in the Call of Duty industry for a throwback competition, especially with the Modern Warfare 2
I
cross
agree.
compatibility
I
with
agree.
Xbox One.
Or right, like I know you remember this, Nick, but remember back in the old MLG days where they would have like multiple titles at one event?
Yeah.
Remember when like okay, so for people that may not know this, right, because it's not something you see today, the first event I ever went to was MLG Raleigh 2010. I walked into this venue and I saw Halo 3, I saw Call of Duty, I saw Gears of War, I saw StarCraft, I saw Tekken, and I saw Super Smash Brothers. That is 6 games. 6 games in one venue. One venue. And that was the craziest, dopest experience I've ever had. I mean, you had Halo people, or Halo competitors that may be waiting for their next round, or maybe they got knocked out of the bracket. They're going over to these other titles and are watching them, right? They're going to the Halo main stage and they're watching their respective title. However, they're going over to Smash and watching Smash. They're going over to watch Tekken matches and watch that hype, and they're watching Call of Duty and Gears. You get this gaming convention, right? This ideology that MLG's ideology at that time was way ahead of its time. It was way ahead of its time, and they knew exactly what people were gonna want and what they needed. But however, MLG, they had, like that they had their route that they had to take, and ultimately they had to drop that. And obviously, Halo 4 title, but we're not going to go into that because there's a lot of games that kind of like fell off, that they took off the circuit and put back on. However, I think now with developer support and most of the esports titles that we see, I don't think it's impossible to have a multi-game event anymore. And I think it'd be really cool to see. And that's definitely something that, just on your point, right, of the fun convention, it would kind of bring that ideology into play in that space.
World of
I feel.
Warcraft was also at
Yes,
MLG
it was.
Raleigh
Yes, it was.
2010.
Yes, it was. I forgot about that. I remember there was like there was a little setup for it. It wasn't huge by any means, but they had like a little small open bracket, and then they had a main stage for the main games.
Yeah,
So I mean, it was
definitely
cool.
cool.
It was cool. It
It's
was cool,
some PC throwback.
right? 100%. But anyway, guys, I just want to thank you for listening to the Infinite Podcast, and that's going to do it for this episode. But know that every Wednesday, you guys can catch us on YouTube, on Anchor, on every streaming platform, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. You can catch us on all of those platforms, but also know that this podcast is sponsored by Anchor, the best place to place your podcast. So make sure to check out Anchor, and also make sure to tune in every single Wednesday to catch your new episode of the Infinite Podcast. I just want to thank you guys for your time and for listening to my wonderful voice and listening to Nick's wonderful voice. And and Nick, I just want to thank you for coming on, man, and having this awesome gaming conversation.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
It has been quite a lot.
Excellent. It's great to hear. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. And that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for us here at the Infinite Podcast. And we will see you next week. Peace.
Chief. Give me 1 second.